Sudan is the largest country in Africa and has a population of nearly 35 million. Faith is prevalent in the country with approximately 97% following the Islamic tradition and Christians making up the other 3%. The geographical location of this country provides some rather distinctive characteristics. Lack of rainfall is a common occurrence, with drought impacting rural populations, causing poverty and hunger. Ongoing war has also had a major impact on the development and future of this country, causing 730,000 to flee to other countries, as well as leaving 1.5 million left internally displaced. A portion of those who have fled due to war, drought, and other circumstances have come to settle in Australia. Prior to 2001, most Sudanese immigrants in Australia were skilled workers rather than refugees, but humanitarian programs have led to the immigration of 98% of all Sudanese immigrants to Australia, accumulating to 19,050 in total. And immigration from Sudan does not seem to be slowing, with rates continuing to rise. Over the past 10 years, Sudanese arrivals steadily increased by 34% each year. This has caused not only their culture to be brought with them, but also their cuisine.
When referring to different cuisines around the world and within every country and culture, dominant factors such as social, cultural, religious, environmental, geographical, seasonal, traditional, and celebrations influence the way people live their lives, what they buy, and in this case, what types of food they consume. Sudanese cuisine has been shaped by the dominant factors that influence the land and the people. When referring to social and cultural factors, in Sudan, traditionally meals are communal and commonly food is served from big bowls which people dip and scoop into to get their servings. This would be due to the fact that Sudanese people are very hospitable and usually cater for large groups of family and friends when eating a meal. As the economy is based on agriculture, they grow what they eat and it is very simple and flavoursome food. As anywhere in the world, environmental, seasonal, and geographical factors influence and change the consumption of food and the food habits of specific populations. In relation to Sudan, geographical location and weather has an enormous impact on the current food culture. Sudan has a tropical climate, and in summer, temperatures can exceed 44 degrees and resulting in less farming production and people having to dry out their meats, onions, and spices to preserve them. Sudan also faces the problem of unpredictable weather. Extreme droughts and extreme floods are becoming more common than ever, and effects are fatal to the vast majority of the population. Farmers have to deal with the loss of crop and adapt to these unpredictable changes as well as they can. The location of Sudan also affects the different types of foods and flavors that it influenced the cuisine. For example, Arab traders and settlers during the Ottoman Empire brought numerous spices and flavors that have shaped the Sudanese cuisine. When referring to the economical factors that influence the food habits of Sudanese population, there are many contributing factors. Sudan is currently facing an economic crisis. The Sudan pound has significantly declined, and the cost of goods and services and food has skyrocketed to a record high. Aside from the fact that Sudan is also one of the poorest countries in the world, which results in most of the population facing extreme living conditions and malnutrition. This is why 80% of the population workforce is agriculture. After the regime proclaimed self-sufficiency, they coined the slogan, "We are what we eat, we wear what we manufacture." The civil war also had drastic effects on the country's economy, resulting in harsh living conditions, lack of food and resources, and the destruction of large agricultural areas. Traditions, celebrations, and religion in Sudan help shape the food habits and food consumption of the population. Most Sudanese people are Islam and Muslim, and this is a very important part of their culture and how they live their lives. An important celebration in Sudan is Eid al-Adha. The celebration consists of sacrificing and killing of a sheep to honor special guests at a family ceremony. They then proceed to remove the intestines, lungs, and liver and prepare parts with chili in a dish called marara. Another Muslim tradition is Eid as-Fitr, otherwise known as the breaking Ramadan fast. This fast is a 30-day fast in which people do not eat or drink anything between sunrise and sunset, and when the fast ends, the tradition is held. Generous meals and festivities commence in the evening into the late night. Another tradition in Sudan is the birthday of Prophet Muhammad, which is celebrated with desserts made from nuts and sesame seeds.
The Sudanese cuisine has been greatly affected by cross-cultural influences throughout history. Basic spices such as peppers and garlic were introduced by Arab and Syrian traders who settled in Sudan during the Turkish rule. Arabians also introduced some of the popular vegetables and fruits used in the Sudanese cuisine that were unknown before these influences. Food throughout Sudan varies from one ethnic group to another. Differences in lifestyles and climates account for the types of food favoured by a particular region. The main staple of Sudanese cuisine is a special type of bread called kisra. This bread is thin and it's made from sorghum, which is unique to Sudan. Kisra is paired with a stew, and this has become the main dish in central Sudan and Sudan in general. As an alternative to kisra, a jelly-like porridge known as asida is also popular side to stews. Asida is made up from wheat, flour, or corn. A wide variety of stews exist in Sudan. The main components include dried meat, dried onions, spices, peanut butter, and vegetables such as potatoes, eggplants, and spinach. Soups are also an important component of Sudanese cuisine. They are generally made up of cattle or sheep's hooves in addition to vegetables and spices. Now looking at variations in cuisine due to their large dominant factor, geographical location. In northern Sudan, it is known for its simple wheat-based cuisine, and it is said that in the ancient Nubians residing along the Nile River in northern Sudan were the first to discover wheat. This would explain the fact that wheat flour still remains the staple food of the north, who use it to make their main dish, gurasa, a thick pancake bread. In eastern Sudan, the cuisine is largely influenced by neighbouring Ethiopian taste and cuisine. The most popular dish is the mukbaza, which is a dessert that is made from banana paste. In the nomadic west in western Sudan, milk and dairy products are very common as majority of the people are cattle breeders. The western region is also known for its cereal called dakun, which is used to make thick porridges and added to stews. In the southern region of Sudan, there is an abundance of rivers, lakes, and swamps, making these regions dependent on fish. The region is well known for a fish stew called jakaik. This fish is accompanied with a popular porridge known as asida. The strong Sudanese coffee is served from a special tin jug with a long spout known as a jabina. The coffee is sweet and often spiced with ginger or cinnamon and is drunk from tiny cups or glasses. Fruit teas and herbal teas such as kakadi, the hibiscus tea, are also very popular, along with teas such as cinnamon. Many salad dishes in Sudan include very simple ingredients. They use tomatoes mixed with spices and peanut butter. There is a sesame seed dip that is also very popular given that Sudan is a great exporter of sesame. In Australia, a large majority of the grains, spices and vegetables used in traditional Sudanese cuisine are at our convenience. The sorghum grain used in their main dish, kisra, is the main grain grown in Australia in the summer. Although it is not as common as regular wheat flours, sorghum flour can be sourced from large supermarkets or local health food stores. With stews and soups made up of meats and vegetables being the main dish of Sudanese cuisine, we are lucky enough to have such a variety of meats and vegetables available here in Australia. Sudanese dishes will mainly use beef and lamb meat, both of which are readily available in Australian supermarkets and local butcheries. Other soup dishes in Sudanese cuisine call for items like hoofs and bones to make up a broth. These items are harder to find, but they can easily be sourced through a local butchery. In comparison to Australia's traditional eating patterns of breakfast, lunch and dinner, the Sudanese traditions and the impacts of poverty throughout the country mean that they will have a late heavy breakfast to keep them full for the day. Traditionally, they will start their morning with a cup of tea, such as hibiscus tea, and then consume a breakfast of traditional stew accompanied with kisra or asida.
When comparing the Sudanese and Australian diet together, there are many similarities and differences between the two cultures. For example, both have very different ways of describing/naming a food, i.e. porridge and asida. Secondly, the Australian Diet and Guide to Healthy Eating have 5 different guidelines in which to follow if you want to live a healthy lifestyle. The guidelines actually tell you how much of each food group you should be having servings each day. It states how much portion sizes you should be eating for your energy intake, plus how to maintain a healthy weight by eating the right amount of foods. Whereas the Sudanese diet doesn't particularly follow necessary guidelines in what should be eaten or how much portion size or servings they should be eating in each meal and every day. This can be a bad thing as there isn't many maintenance observation in the food or consumed. But the Sudanese will not eat as frequently as Australians. They probably would only have around 3 to 4 meals per day. As faith is very prevalent in Sudanese culture, meals will be mostly consumed in large amounts and around special occasions. The similarities between the two countries begin at looking at all the food groups in Australia and how they are similar when they are really combined. For example, in grains, similarity is bread / rye, wholemeal and white, and in Sudan is seseda / porridge. Vegetables, you got potatoes in both countries. Fruit, you have tomatoes. Protein, you have fish. You got nuts and seeds. You got tea and coffee, and you have your dairy. There are many common health implications in Sudan as a result of food deficiencies. These deficiencies include iodine deficiency disorder, vitamin A deficiency, iron deficiency, and anemia. Overall, Sudan and Australia have very diverse cultures, cuisines, and ways of life. Thank you.